Six Flags Magic Mountain has more roller coasters than any other park in the world. And in today's video, we're taking every single roller coaster in the park and looking at the biggest problem that it has. Before we get started, please like this video, please leave a comment down below, and of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Starting things out with Revolution, this ride experience is pretty cool. It's actually an amazing night ride. I've gotten 2 night rides on Revolution over the years. Most recently this past October. It's actually a very underrated night ride, so if you ever get the opportunity, I would highly recommend that. But really the only standout moment on this attraction is that vertical loop. Other than that, it's just a bunch of airtimeless hills, a bunch of tall drops, some decent speed. But overall, I just think the lack of airtime is this ride experience's biggest problem. But ultimately, it's not that big a deal, and I think Revolution is perfect at what it does. Moving over to the first of many kiddie coasters, Magic Flyer is by far the smallest scale roller coaster in this park. It is by far the most irrelevant, and the biggest problem is that, most people can't get the credit, including myself. I did not visit this park until I was too tall to ride it, but oh well. Back on the other side of the park, it's time to talk about Viper. This is one of the most interesting roller coasters in the park, in my opinion. I'm planning to make a review video for this attraction, so make sure you're subscribed if you'd like to watch that. It is absolutely massive. It is incredibly intense. All of those inversions are insane. The 3 vertical loops are very, very powerful. The Batwing has like some insane diversity of forces, from hang time at the top of the first inversion to like very strong positive G-forces in the valley where they take your ride photo. And then of course you get those 2 corkscrews. But because Viper is an intensity machine, you absolutely rip through those corkscrews. It's a very powerful ride experience, but ultimately because you rip through this older aero track so fast, I think the biggest flaw with this ride experience is the janky transitions. I am a taller rider, which means that my head is above the shoulder restraints, so I have a bit of an advantage, and I always ride Viper defensively, but you can still get beat up a little bit. The restraints themselves do come down on my shoulders pretty hard, so that's also something to consider. But going back out to the front of the park, we're going to talk about Full Throttle. This is another very interesting ride experience. It's very short, but it has lots of highlights. That loop is insane. The hang time is crazy. Coasting up the mountain is a lot of fun. The dive loop also has some decent hang time, both in the first pass through and the backwards launch back up into it, especially if you're in the back row. And the top hat does have some fun airtime if you're in the front coming into it, and if you're in the back dropping out of it. But the brakes on the final drop do suck. I'm not a fan of that. I do have a full review video of this attraction already on the channel, so I would recommend that you go check that out if you have not already. But ultimately, the biggest problem with this ride experience, in my opinion, is the duration. Really, there's only like 3 elements to this ride. You got the loop, the dive loop, and the top hat. Everything else is just kind of filler track. And the ride experience does go by pretty fast, and because it's the biggest roller coaster at the front entrance, Full Throttle pulls some serious wait times, and capacity isn't the greatest. Plus, dispatch times do take a while as well. So when you wait in a long line for Full Throttle, you can kind of step off being like, wow, that was really short. Moving on to another kiddie coaster, it's time to talk about Roadrunner Express. This is literally a clone of Gadget Go Coaster at Disneyland, like right down the freeway. So it does feel pretty pointless. Like, this park has 3 other kiddie coasters. And fun fact, it's actually the only kiddie coaster I've ridden in this park. But it's literally a clone of Gadget Go Coaster with worse theming, so it doesn't really have any reason to exist in this park. But going from one of the tamest rides into the park to the most extreme ride in the park, it's time to talk about X2. This ride experience is absolutely insane. The drop is crazy. In my opinion, the inside Raven Turn is the most underrated element on the attraction. It's absolutely bonkers. You get crazy floater airtime while you're just being held in your shoulders. So if you're in the front row, your legs go flying up and it feels like you're getting ripped out of your seat. And then after that, the ride does a backflip. The fly to lie has, like, it's crazy disorienting. Like, it's hard to know where you are. But the biggest problem with X2 is definitely the final valley after the outside Raven turn. The seats are made of hard plastic, and that is by far the most bumpy part of the ride. So what happens is your legs will be bouncing up and down, and you'll be hitting the hard plastic on the train over and over and over again. So your calves do kind of take a beating. Like, I don't think X2 is the roughest ride in the world, at least as of the last time I rode it. But that final valley is definitely the most painful part of the ride experience. You're never gonna believe this, but it's time to talk about another kiddie coaster, and it's another kiddie coaster I have not ridden. It's Speedy Gonzales Hot Rod Racers. I've not been on this coaster in particular, but I have been on clones of it, like the one at Dollywood, or the one at Discovery Kingdom. Honestly, it's a perfectly fine kiddie coaster model. I don't have any issues with it, other than like the gray track. The gray track is kind of ugly. But moving on to a much more interesting ride, it is time to talk about Tatsu. This roller coaster is like insane. Like, in some aspects it feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be, because there's like crazy intense moments like that pretzel loop. It might be one of the most intense elements I've ever been on. You feel the entire weight of the world on your body for what feels like a sustained amount of time. Like, the anticipation before the pretzel loop is also crazy, because you see how far down that track is leading you, and you're like, oh my gosh, here it is. This is the moment, you know? Also, my irrational fear lizard brain freaks out during the lift hill on this ride, because you're just looking straight down at the ground, and Tatsu's lift hill goes over the edge of the magic mountain. So the distance between you and the ground grows further and further as you go up the lift hill, more so than any other lift hill I've ever been on. So that anxiety builds and builds for me. But aside from those two moments, the rest of the layout is pretty graceful. Like, these tame 0G rolls. There's this horseshoe turn that has a beautiful view of the backside of the park. And then after the pretzel loop, you have one more roll into a beautiful turn over the front half of the park. So Tatsu is a dominating force on both sides of Magic Mountain. It provides amazing views, but because of the stark difference in the ride elements, it kind of feels like Tatsu doesn't know what it wants to be. Like, it's really manic. I don't think the ride experience flows as smoothly together as a vast majority of roller coasters in this park and in the world that I've ridden. So that's something interesting about Tatsu in particular. But for this video, I will say that the biggest problem of the ride is the rattle during the pretzel loop. It is very intense, and it is also very shaky. Like, I don't mind the intensity, at least not yet. Like, I can handle it. But the rattle is very noticeable, and because it's a flying coaster, you kind of feel it on your entire body rather than just on your lower body or your upper body. Like, everything is restrained when you're on Tatsu, like, rightfully so. So for that reason, the rattle is more noticeable. But moving on, we're finally knocking out the kiddie coasters in this park with Canyon Blaster. I have not been on this attraction, but just like Speedy Gonzales, I have been on many attractions just like it, including Wilderness Run at Carowinds. The ride experience is fine. I just think it's a little more janky than most kiddie coasters, so there's that. But we're finally making our way to the back side of the park for Ninja. Ninja is honestly a pretty underwhelming suspended coaster. There's only like one moment of okay positive G-forces as you dive down by the water. Like, I'd look over at Bat at Kings Island, and it's like, that ride is just so much better. I know Ninja used to have a cool setting with a bunch of trees around, but they chopped down all the trees, and honestly, I think Ninja is the ugliest corner of Magic Mountain, which says a lot because a lot of this park needs some work. But similar to Adventure Express at Kings Island, Ninja has an anticlimactic ending because the station for the attraction is near the top of the mountain. So when you're dispatched, you go up like a very small lift hill before your ride experience begins, and throughout the ride, you're descending all the way down the mountain. The final brake run is right by the station for Jetstream, and then you have to go up one more lift hill to get back to the station to end the ride. So for that reason, the final aspect of the ride is going up a lift hill, which is kind of lame. But it is what it is. Ninja is a family coaster, and honestly, I think this park needs more family coasters, at least one more. Which it sounds like the new ride that they're getting is going to be a family coaster, so we'll see how it works out. But out on the other side of the park, we have Goliath. If you know me, you know I am not a fan of this ride at all. The last time I rode it, I waited like 70 minutes for it, and I was not happy about that. Hypercoasters are some of my favorite roller coasters of all time. I absolutely love Diamondback at Kings Island. It's euphoric and magical. The airtime on that ride is crazy. Goliath doesn't have anything like that because of the type of ride it is. It's a hyper twister coaster. There's really only one traditional airtime hill, and it is so drawn out. The drop is so shallow. Pretty much every element is drawn out. But what really sucks the most about Goliath is the mid-course brake run. You absolutely slam to a stop. Like, it's actually ridiculous. Like, you might as well just start the ride there, because the drop, the turnaround, and that drawn-out airtime hill do absolutely nothing for me, but it means that Magic Mountain can't get another hypercoaster. But I'm praying that they pull a Hershey Park one day and build another one, because Goliath is not it at all. Going back up to the top of the mountain, we're talking about a roller coaster that is actually closed. It is Superman Escape from Krypton. I'm very interested to see what they do with this attraction, because they do have a drop tower attached to the Superman structure, and it would be interesting if they were able to reuse like the station for Superman to build another roller coaster using that tower, but who knows. The biggest problem with the Escape from Krypton ride experience was absolutely the duration. It was a very, very, very short ride. You hit a launch, you went up a spike, then you hit the brakes. Like, that was it. Like, the floater airtime you got during that spike was pretty fun, whether you were facing forwards or backwards. I had the fortunate experience to do both. But ultimately, despite Superman's height and speed, the ride experience did not live up to the stats. Right next to the Superman Tower is Twisted Colossus, which is one of the greatest roller coasters at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This ride has so much amazing airtime. The drops are incredible. The speed hills are crazy. The pop up after the speed hill is actually ridiculous. I love the high five. I love the drop down, whether it's the double down on the green side or just the fall through wooden supports on the blue side. The inversions are crazy, whether it's the stall or the 0G roll. The airtime hill on the blue side underneath the stall is actually one of the greatest airtime moments on the ride. I love that thing. You have a great double up, and then the blue side has a fun mini outer bank, and then the green side, I do kind of have to nitpick Twisted Colossus because it's such a good ride, but the laterals at the end of the ride experience aren't great. The last time I went to Magic Mountain, I rode this thing 4 times, and I was like bracing for it, so it's not that bad when you brace for it. But laterals in a boxy train, like an RMC train, just aren't that comfortable in my opinion, and because of the way that this is profiled, it just provides laterals that aren't great in my opinion. I know a lot of people really hate that the ride doesn't duel most of the time. I really don't care. Like, dueling can be a fun, like, bonus, but it doesn't make or break the ride experience for me. I'm an introvert. Like, I don't really care. Like, it's fun once, but like, I don't need it every single time. The layout for Twisted Colossus is what makes it a great ride. The dueling aspect is just kind of like a cherry on top. And if I don't have the cherry, I'm not going to throw a tantrum about it like a lot of coaster enthusiasts do. So, whatever. I know some people also say that the pacing is kind of messy on this ride because you go up that lift hill on the green side and it like really slows down if it's waiting for the blue side to catch up to you. But honestly, I think it builds anticipation. Like, sometimes a ride like Steel Vengeance that is like the duration of both sides of Twisted Colossus together, it's like kind of exhausting. So like that break in the middle can like kind of help like reset your brain. Like, I'm processing what just happened, and by the time I'm done thinking about it, we're like halfway up the lift hill, you know? Or it's always fun to react with the person next to you. Be like, wow, that was crazy. But overall, I'm a big fan of Twisted Colossus. Moving from the RMC to the park's only wooden coaster, it's time to talk about Apocalypse. GCI is absolutely one of my favorite manufacturers. I love, love, love GCI. They absolutely saved Ghost Rider, and I love Ghost Rider. I'm a big fan of Thunderhead at Dollywood. I'm a big fan of Mystic Timbers, which has a review video on the channel, by the way. I'm kind of mixed on Gold Striker. Like, a lot of people love that ride, but I do think it's kind of overrated. But that being said, I've been on it so much recently that I've learned how to ride that ride, and I've seen why people love it so much. Apocalypse is definitely one of GCI's weakest attractions. Outside of Invader at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, I think this is the weakest GCI that I've been on, which is a shame because it's the closest pure GCI to my house. I'm still eternally grateful for Ghost Rider. That being said, Apocalypse does have a really fun first half. You pick up some good speed off of the lift hill, and the straight drop in the back gives some floater airtime. You dive straight into a speed hill, which is really fun. The turnaround is okay. You kind of have an airtime pop coming down out of it. This turn inside of the structure is actually really slow. Like, it kind of kills the pacing for a moment. But the last time I rode it was in the middle of the night during Fright Fest, and it actually kept its speed pretty well through this turn. And then you're gonna race down and up into the station. Coming into the station fly-through and dropping out of it are good airtime moments, but after that, the ride dies. Like, there's no more airtime. You just kind of rip over some rickety track. Nothing memorable, nothing fun. They really fumbled the bag in the second half of Apocalypse. The layout is just completely uninteresting. There's nothing to talk about. It just kind of creates a long, winding turn, and then I guess it's like a weird-shaped figure 8 before you hit the final brake run. But I really wish they had more airtime pops. I wish the second half was as interesting as the first half. And I do wish that Magic Mountain took better care of this ride. As I said, it is very rickety. I wouldn't say it's painful. It's probably the roughest GCI that I've been on. Heading back over to the other side of the park, it's time to talk about Scream. Now, this ride gets so much complaints online, like it's a parking lot coaster. People complain about the rattle. I've been riding Scream for years, and I've only had one ride that had like a pretty gnarly rattle. For a long time, that was the most recent ride I had on Scream, but I recently got back up there, and I didn't think the rattle was that bad at all. So I think the people that complain about this ride's smoothness are really grasping at straws. Like, it's not that bad. It's a fun layout. The drop is fun. It kind of gives me butterflies. That loop is huge and can have some fun hang time if the ride is running slow enough. The dive loop, the Cobra roll, and the corkscrews are all fun B&M inversions. That 0G roll is definitely the standout moment. Everyone dunks on Scream for being a parking lot coaster, but they give the RMC right next door to it a pass, even though that is also a parking lot coaster. Like, you hear people complain about Scream being a parking lot coaster anytime anybody brings up the ride, but like, whenever people talk about Twisted Colossus, you never hear anything about it being a parking lot coaster, even though, again, it's literally next door. It's on the same parking lot, guys. So why does Twisted Colossus get a pass, but Scream doesn't? Come on. Either both are a problem, or neither are a problem. So we gotta make up our mind here. When I last rode this ride like 2 years ago, the shakiness was the worst I've ever felt on it, so I was really worried going back this year for Fright Fest, and it was fine. It wasn't bad at all. But because of that one really bad ride experience, even though I just went off about how this ride isn't that bad, I have to say that the biggest issue is the rattle. Just because of that one really bad ride that I got. I understand if you feel the roughness that I felt that one time, like every time you ride it. I don't know if I've gotten really lucky with this ride. I don't know. Sometimes roller coasters are really inconsistent, and if you want to make that the biggest problem with Scream, you know what? I just convinced myself. It's no longer the rattle. Inconsistency is now Scream's biggest problem, so you're welcome. Back over on the other side of the park, it's time to talk about one of the best rides in the park, West Coast Racers. This is really fun. The high five is an awesome moment. Unlike Twisted Colossus, you race every single time. And because the layout is not as strong as Twisted Colossus, I think that helps the dueling gimmick feel more special. Also, I feel like the layout does a better job of making those racing moments more special. The inversions are so much fun. The two large corkscrews have crazy hang time. The stall obviously has crazy hang time. And so does that last yellow corkscrew. Both sides are so much fun, but unlike Twisted Colossus, instead of going up a lift hill to experience the second half, for West Coast Racers, you just kind of park. There's some mild theming in the in the waiting area, but it's far less exciting and interesting as compared to going up a lift hill that builds much more anticipation. Sometimes you're just sitting in there for a long time, and dispatches can take a while because the comfort collars suck. But because you don't really notice them during the ride experience, I decided to not make that this ride's biggest problem. I do think it's that pause in between the races. But heading over to DC Universe, it's time to talk about Batman the Ride. This roller coaster is cloned everywhere, it feels like. I've been on multiple versions of this ride. Batman at Magic Mountain is very fun. Very powerful layout. It's hard to think of the biggest problem of this ride, but the one turn right here is pretty chill. Like it definitely gives you a chance to catch your breath. But because other than that, this ride experience is go, 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 positive G's everywhere. So I guess I have to sacrifice the chill turn as this ride's biggest problem. But again, I think it is kind of needed because this ride is so positive G heavy. Next up is the park's other family coaster. It is Gold Rusher. This is like a park original. It is very janky, and ultimately I do think that is this ride's biggest problem. There's not really a standout moment other than the final helix, and even then it's nothing noteworthy. Like, it's cool that Magic Mountain has a mine train, because I do think that this park's family coaster collection is very, very weak. It's pretty much just this ride and Ninja right next door. Anything other than that is just way too intense or a kiddie coaster. Like, kiddie coasters don't count as family coasters in my opinion. Like, honestly, I think they got the ratio backwards. I think they should have 4 family coasters and 2 kiddie coasters rather than 4 kiddie coasters and 2 family coasters. But anyway, heading over to one of my favorite rides in the park, it is Wonder Woman Flight of Courage. This is an RMC Raptor coaster. It has so many amazing airtime moments. I love the inversions on this ride. The dive loop has airtime, which is incredible. The stall is a very tall element, very sustained, very floaty, and very fun, but not quite as floaty as that 0G roll. It's kind of magical how long it keeps you out of your seat as you float through the entire inversion. Probably one of my favorite 0G rolls I've been on. So the layout is pure fun on Wonder Woman, but I do think this ride is kind of shaky. It is by far the roughest RMC I've ever ridden, and for that reason, that is this ride's biggest problem. Finally, we're uniting both sides of the park. We're meeting in the middle at Riddler's Revenge. This ride is huge. The layout, just like Batman, is very positive G heavy. And honestly, I think the biggest problem with this ride is what makes the whole ride experience, which are the stand-up trains. That aspect is what makes it unique to every other ride in the park, including other inversion heavy B&M rides like Scream, but ultimately I would much rather sit down than stand up on a ride. I know a lot of people consider Riddler's Revenge the best stand-up coaster out there. I've only ever been on this ride and Vortex at Carowinds, and if you want to include Pipeline, I've been on Pipeline as well at SeaWorld Orlando. But ultimately, this ride would be so much better if it had like Kumba's trains at Busch Gardens Tampa. But then that would just kind of make Scream redundant, so I don't know. It's kind of an interesting issue. At the rate that Six Flags is closing rides, I wouldn't be surprised if Riddler or Scream are on the chopping block in the years to come, which is a depressing note to end this video on. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like this video. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what your biggest problems are with the rides at Six Flags Magic Mountain. What is your biggest problem with your least favorite ride? What is your biggest problem with your favorite ride? I would love to hear. Please like this video, and of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later.